All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JT Dodgers podcast. I'm your host, James Cirillo, or JT. And today we are pretty much just going to be covering what I would be doing if I were in charge of the Dodgers. Now, everybody always, says, well, what's he doing? Talking about the manager of their team, what's the whole strategy behind it? And today I'm going to tell you what I would do. Obviously, I'm not saying I would do a better job than Dodgers manager Dave Roberts. I'm not saying I should be a manager. This is just for fun. I'm just saying if, let's say, hypothetical, completely unrealistic situation, Dodgers call me up today and say, "Hey, we saw your podcast. You want to be the manager of the Dodgers?" Obviously, that would not happen, but we're going to pretend it did. So here's what I would do. I'm going to go over the lineup, make some trades, the pitching rotation, and pretty much just give you guys an overall look at what the Dodgers roster lineup would look like if James Cirillo was in charge. So we're going to start out with the lineup. It looks pretty similar to what we have now. I'm going to assume that everyone is healthy. So I'm not going to have guys on the injured list. So Kershaw is in the rotation. Gonsolin is back. And I'm going to be making some other trades. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So if you hear a guy that's hurt, it's because I'm imagining everyone's healthy for my purpose. So, yeah. So here we go. So the lineup, I'm going to have Ohtani lead off. It's pretty much the new wave in the MLB where you used to have guys bat third and fourth that they were your best hitter. Like we look back 5-6 years ago and Cody Bellinger, when he was the MVP, he was batting fourth for us. Ohtani's our MVP now, and now he's batting leadoff. It's just the game has changed in several ways over the last few years, and especially in this case where instead of batting your two best hitters third and fourth, now most teams are batting them first and second. So I would have Ohtani lead off as the DH, and I would have Betts second. Oh, one thing I didn't point out is that I'm having Ohtani stay as a DH. I do not have him in my pitching rotation because that's the one guy where, like, in 2 months, I still don't think he'll be pitching. So in like 2 months, Kershaw will be back, most likely. Maybe Gonsolin, we don't really know. We know Ohtani's probably not going to be pitching in the next 2 months. So I have Ohtani just DHing here. But if he was healthy, obviously I would have him in the rotation, and I would probably move Dustin May to the bullpen or something. And you got to keep in mind, it's actually much harder to do this with everybody healthy, I think. Obviously, you'd rather have everyone healthy in real life, but it's harder to make a lineup. And we'll get to that when we get to the pitching rotation. But the Dodgers have so many starting pitchers that it's almost like, who doesn't make the starting rotation if everyone's healthy? Because we have about 7, 8, 9 starting pitchers. And some of them I didn't even include here that I'm now realizing. Emmett Sheehan, he's hurt. Bobby Miller's in the minor league, so I don't have him on here. But let's continue with the lineup. I have Betts batting second. Like I said, your two best hitters, 1 and 2. I have Betts going back to right field. And you guys will see why in a second when I get to the rest of this lineup. But I have Mookie Betts going to right field. I think he's the best right fielder in baseball defensively and overall as a player. I think Mookie should be playing right field. It's like, imagine, I know this is a weird example, but imagine Aaron Judge playing right field and then the Yankees moved him to shortstop. You would be saying, why the heck are you moving the best right fielder in baseball or one of the best right fielders in baseball to shortstop? I know he also plays center field now as well, but just an example. I know Mookie can play shortstop better than Aaron Judge, but he's a right fielder in my eyes. And he's fine at shortstop, but sometimes it pisses me off when he'll make an error because I give him the excuse saying, you're not really a shortstop. You're a right fielder. I have him batting second and playing right field. Batting third, the GOAT, Freddie Freeman, playing first base, of course. Fourth, I have Teoscar Hernandez playing left field. This is the top 5 in this lineup, or the top 4, I guess. The top 4 are really not arguable, I feel like, when healthy. I think it's got to be Ohtani, Betts, Freddie, Teo as your top 4. I don't really think you can switch that around. Those kind of have to be the top 4 guys unless one of them's out and you want to move Edman or Smith up. But those, in my eyes, are the top 4 hitters in the Dodgers lineup for sure. Then fifth, I have Tommy Edman. I have him at shortstop. I know he's a Gold Glove second baseman, but like I said, I'm gonna get to who's playing second base in a second. Uh, he is an infielder. I don't like when they put him in center field that much. He's a very good defensive player anywhere you put him. He's pretty much what Chris Taylor was for us, 5-6 years ago. That's Tommy Edman now, except he hits more home runs now for some reason. He's got 8 now after hitting one against the Cubs. In the words of Joe Davis, Tommy Edman owns the Cubs. That was a great call from Joe Davis. Rough loss last night for sure against the Cubs, but we'll get to that in a second as well. Batting sixth, I have the best catcher in baseball, Will Smith. Will Smith has been on fire at the plate. He has his ups and downs. He didn't have a great second half of the season last year. His batting average was way too low. He was in the 240s, 250s, I believe. But I have him batting sixth, which is crazy because on a lot of teams in baseball, if they had Will Smith, he'd be batting third or fourth on almost any lineup. He's batting sixth in this lineup when it's healthy. So nothing against Will Smith. It's crazy that there's 5 batter options before him. And if Will Smith continues to stay hot, who knows? Maybe he would move up in this lineup ahead of Edman. Maybe he'd move back to the 4 spot like he used to be a few years ago. But right now, I would have him at 6th. In the 7th spot in our lineup, the Dodgers franchise second baseman, Hae-Sung Kim. Now, I apologize if I'm not saying his name right. I know the last name's Kim, but he's in AAA right now. I have been dying for the Dodgers to call this guy up. I have been dying for it to happen. I want them to call him up so badly because I'm so sick and tired of seeing Kike come into play. I'm so sick and tired. Last year was Gavin Lux, who hits a ground ball to second every at-bat. I'm so sick and tired of not having a legit middle infielder. We finally have that with Tommy Edman. I'm not saying Mookie Betts isn't a legit middle infielder, but I kind of am because he's a right fielder. I love Mookie, but he should be playing right field. If you can move Edman over to short, have Kim play second, Freddie at first, Kim at second, Tommy at short, and then Muncy at third, it's a pretty darn good infield. And then your outfield would be, I'll get to the rest of the lineup, but you guys can picture what the outfield would look like as well. That's pretty good. And I think Kim is going to be a stud. He's been raking in the minor leagues. He batted over 330 last year in the KBO, in the Korean Baseball League. So this guy's a stud. He hits for average, and one day he is going to be batting a lot higher in this lineup, and I really hope they call this kid up soon because I'm dying to watch this guy play. I love his swing. I love everything about his game. If anybody is a Hae-Sung Kim fan, it's me. If there's one Hae-Sung Kim fan in the world, it's me. If there's 0, I'm dead. I can't wait for them to call this guy up. I am so excited for it. I have him batting 7th just because he hasn't played in the major leagues yet, but he will move up because I am so high on him, and he is going to be our franchise second baseman. If it were up to me, he'd be called up this second. He'd be getting the call right now. The other week, like a week ago, there was rumors that he was going to get called up because he was in Oklahoma City, the AAA team for the Dodgers, the Comets, and he was supposed to be called up, we thought, because he was seen giving hugs to his teammates in the locker room, and he seemed like emotional. So everyone was assuming, oh, he must have just gotten the call that he's coming up to the Dodgers, and then it just didn't happen. So unless he got the call and they said, like, hey, we're going to bring you up in a few weeks, but I feel like that wouldn't happen. So I have him batting 7th here and playing second base, and he's also number 6. So I cannot wait to get a Kim jersey because that's my favorite number. So hopefully he does wear that number on the Dodgers because that would kind of stink if he didn't, but I'm sure he will. Batting 8th, I have Michael Conforto playing center field. I know it's a little weird that he's playing center field. I would be fine with Teo moving to center and Conforto going to left. You can really swap those either way. It doesn't matter. On nights where you don't want Conforto in the lineup because a left-hander's pitching, you can put Pajes in center. I would just like to see Pajes heat up a little bit. He's been a little better lately. He's hitting the long ball better. He's been hitting more home runs. Hit another home run last night at Wrigley. I'm fine with Pajes being in here instead of Conforto only when lefties are pitching. When there's a right-hander on the mound, it should be Conforto every time. I think Conforto is a better player than Andy Pajes. Batting 9th is our third baseman, Max Muncy. Now, I love Max Muncy. Love Max Muncy. I have a Muncy jersey. Muncy was one of my favorite players back in like 2019, 2020. I loved the whole go get it out of the ocean thing with Madison Bumgarner back in 2019 when he hit the ball in the ocean in San Francisco, and he was that whole thing. That was great, but I have him batting ninth because Max Muncy has been hard to watch at the plate for a few years now. He was fine in 2022 after he came back from that injury. We figured, okay, he's fine. Then the last year and a half, 2 years, it's just been hard watching him try to hit. He strikes out way too much. And it's been hard to watch him try to hit. I'm just being honest. It's hard. I love Muncy. Like I said with Kim, if there's one supporter of Muncy on the world or on the planet, it's me. So I love Muncy, but he can't be batting much higher than ninth in this lineup. It's been hard to watch him hit. And it's a shame because 5-6 years ago, he was batting third in this lineup. So it's definitely hard to see. And on the bench, I would have Andy Pages, I guess Austin Barnes. I would probably call it Hunter Fiducia instead of Barnes. But Barnes has been there so long, and if you have Kershaw on the team, Barnes is always his catcher. So whatever Kershaw wants, he gets at this point for all he's done for this organization. So I guess we can keep Barnes, but Barnes is another guy. It is just so hard watching his approach at the plate, and I don't know how much I'd really want to keep him on the team. And for me, Will Smith would be resting less than he is if I was the manager of this team. He rests twice a week at least, and I don't think it's necessary. Roberts will rest him, and then the Dodgers will have the next day off. There's no need to do that. There's absolutely no need to do that. When you have the next day off, start Will Smith, he gets the next day off, and then he can catch again the next day. He doesn't need 2 days in a row off. Unless he's hurt or something, he doesn't need that. And if he's hurt, then you say that, and you start Fiducia or Barnes. Barnes has even gotten worse behind the plate defensively, I think. So I would rather have Hunter Fiducia up, but that's just me. If you're a Dodgers fan and you're watching this, you can comment below your thoughts, but that's my opinion. Then we get to the starting rotation when healthy. I have a 6-man rotation because, as you guys know, the Dodgers have so many starting pitchers, and all of them are above average pitchers by far. So you can't really take any of them out. I have Kershaw as the number one guy. He's the captain of this team. If baseball had captains like they do in hockey, Kershaw would have the C on his jersey for sure. Kershaw has been that guy. He's the greatest to ever wear Dodger blue. I'd have him going in the number one spot. And I tried to go righty, lefty, but there are a few more righties, so it didn't work at the end of the rotation. So next I have Yamamoto, who's a righty. Then I have Snell, who's a lefty. Then Glasnow, who's a righty. And then my last two pitchers are both righties, Sasaki. And then Dustin May is the number 6 starter. I moved Gonsolin into the bullpen because I think if he comes back from injury sooner than later, we start him out in the bullpen, and then he can work his way up to the rotation if somebody gets hurt, which I hate to say it's probably going to happen. So, I mean, Snell is hurt. Glasnow is always hurt. He just came out of the game on Sunday after pitching like 5 scoreless. Kershaw's hurt, and Dustin May tends to get hurt a lot too. And so does Gonsolin. So, and then we also have Emmett Sheehan. So we have him that's hurt. We have River Ryan that's hurt. There are so many guys hurt right now, but that is my rotation when healthy. Clayton Kershaw, greatest pitcher of the modern era. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, and then Dustin May. If one of them goes down, you go with a 5-man rotation. And then if 2 of them go down, you put Gonsolin into the rotation, or you get yourself, Emmett Sheehan when he comes back. I know it's going to be a while for him. Or if you really have to, I guess, a bullpen game. But I also have not given up on Bobby Miller. I know he has been so bad, but I'm going to say the same thing I said for Kim and Muncy. I am Bobby Miller's biggest supporter. I loved Bobby Miller when we first called him up. He looked like a freaking Cy Young pitcher, and I don't know if that's really the case anymore, but he's for sure got some good stuff left in him, and it's a shame because he's so young and he's he's been shelled every time he's gone out there the last year and a half. So I'm really hoping he can turn things around. I would love for them to give him a role in the bullpen later on in the season, maybe. I just want him on the team somehow because I love Bobby Miller. I love his enthusiasm. I love his mentality. I love what he brings to the game. And it's a shame that he has struggled so much these last 2 years, year and a half, 2 years-ish. So I would love for him to get a role in the bullpen or starting rotation, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. In the bullpen, I have Gonsolin. I have Jack Dreyer, who I'm also a huge fan of. I love Jack Dreyer. He has been phenomenal for the Dodgers so far this season. He's got some great stuff. Blake Trinan, of course. Kirby Yates, Anthony Bonda, all the girls' favorite, Anthony Bonda. Ben Kasparius, who I'm a big fan of as well. Alex Vesia, who I've grown to really like over the last year and a half. And our closer, Tanner Scott. And also, I just realized, I don't know how I left this off, but Evan Phillips also. I would honestly be fine with Tanner Scott pitching the 8th and Phillips in the 9th. But you could also flip that, or just, let's say Phillips closes out one night, and then you need to close the second night, then you go to Scott, and then you go to Phillips the next night. They can switch. I'm fine with that as well. And I know you guys are probably thinking, well, where's Kike, where's Garcia, where's all these guys? Here are the trades that I would make, and there's really just one. A lot of you are going to say it's not realistic, but I think it could be depending on what we throw in. Kike Hernandez, James Outman, and several prospects for Nolan Arenado. And if you need to throw in Max Muncy, you do. That way we get a legit third baseman. I'm not saying Muncy's not a legit third baseman, but Arenado is by far the better player, of course. I think this would be the last puzzle piece, or the last piece to the puzzle for the Dodgers to really run away with it and win another World Series. Nolan Arenado would probably bat 6th on this team, or 5th. That's how good this lineup is. Nolan Arenado not batting in the top 4. That's how good this lineup is. I would love to see them go out and get him. 2 years ago at the deadline, there were rumors about it, and it just didn't happen. I love Muncy. I don't want him to get traded. I would much rather him just play better than them have to trade him. But if it meant getting Nolan Arenado, I would be okay with it. And at the end of the day, it is a business. You can't just not trade guys because, they're a fan favorite. You love Muncy, you love Kike. If we can trade these guys and prospects like one of our catching prospects, someone like that, throw in a pitcher, throw in Emmett Sheehan, something, I would love to get Nolan Arenado in Dodger Blue. I would love it. I don't know how you guys would feel about that, but I would love Nolan Arenado on the Dodgers as our third baseman. I know he's probably past his prime, but he's still got a lot left in the tank, and it would be great to see him in Dodger Blue. So that's pretty much what I would do if I was the manager of the Dodgers. I know there's going to be a lot of people to say, oh, well, a lot of that's not realistic. Not all these guys are going to be healthy at the same time, which could be true. There could be a point in the season, and probably will be true, where not all these guys will be healthy at the same time, which is unfortunate, but it might be true. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So I appreciate you guys tuning into the JT Dodgers podcast. You can follow me on Podbean at the JT Dodgers podcast, on Instagram, JT Dodgers podcast, on YouTube. We post our clips our episodes on the JT Sports Network. And you can find clips on YouTube, TikTok, and our episodes on YouTube and Podbean. So thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the JT Dodgers podcast, and I'll see you next time. Let's go Dodgers.